Do you think she'd ever want to be on it? Can you see her being on the show? I know, maybe not.
Robyn, I've seen her in childbirth, so I know how tough she is, because she had children.
Hey besties, welcome back to Brown House Secrets. Okay, you are not ready for what went down in the premiere of Sister Wives Season 20. If you were expecting any ounce of authenticity from Kody and Robyn, brace yourself because you are about to get the exact opposite. Scripted. Forced. Fake. Every single moment feels like it was choreographed for the cameras. The season opens in a way that feels like a broken record. It literally ends almost where it begins, circling back to the same patterns of denial, avoidance, and emotional neglect. The opening clip I shared? That sets the tone for the entire episode. From the very start, you can feel the shadow of Garrison's death hanging over the family, but somehow Kody and Robyn act like it's just a trivial story from the past, a footnote that doesn't touch their lives at all. Meanwhile, Janelle is in North Carolina, building a life for herself, keeping busy, trying to heal, and openly talking about missing her son. Garrison is a real presence for her, for Christine, and for their children. A constant wound, a weight they carry every day. For Kody and Robyn, however, it is as if Garrison never existed. That emotional absence sets the tone for the heartbreak that follows. And here's where it gets shocking. Kody is shown brushing his 13-year-old son Solomon's hair on the way to school. Let me be clear, Solomon doesn't need help. He has no disabilities, no reason to require assistance, yet Kody does this seemingly small act not out of care, but to prove he is a good dad. And then he panics about his phone being in his pocket, like that somehow measures his value as a father. Meanwhile, the real emotional needs of his children remain completely unaddressed. The episode gets even more heart-wrenching when Madison breaks down, and her pain exposes the truth behind the distance between Kody and his children. It's not complicated. Since Garrison's death, Kody has chosen to compartmentalize his relationships, to push his children aside, and to avoid accountability at every turn. He doesn't show up for them at the funeral, he doesn't show up after, and he certainly doesn't show up in ways that matter emotionally. Instead of the family coming together, Kody and Robyn skip Erica's house, the home of Curtis, Kody's late brother, and isolate themselves. They create their own separate bubble, detached from the grieving process of the family, proving that even in tragedy they cannot find common ground. And now, in this episode, Garrison might as well be invisible. The children's pain, the family's grief. It's as if none of it exists in Kody and Robyn's world. When older children try to reconcile, Kody dismisses them, claiming they want to make amends only on their terms, refusing any accountability. From there, the narrative of victimhood emerges. Kody and Robyn insist they didn't choose monogamy, that their marriage struggles are the result of circumstance rather than choice. But here's the truth. For all appearances, there is no struggle. They are living exactly the life they want. Free from responsibility, free from former relationships, free from anyone who might hold them accountable. Robyn even claims that Rob and I were in plural marriage together. It all just ended when the others left. Like we're monogamous, but it was chosen for us. Mary's response cuts straight to the heart of the deception. Why would I stay in a marriage where I have no relationship with Kody, no relationship with Robyn, just so Robyn can claim she lives polygamy? That comment perfectly sums up the manipulation that Kody and Robyn continue to rely on. Kody abandoned meaningful connections, and Robyn benefits from pretending everything is spiritual or polyamorous, while really enjoying the privileges of Kody's absence. And now, Robyn even distances herself from her sister wives. She doesn't say, since my sister wives left. She says, since Kody's exes left, effectively erasing the women she once called sisters from her life, framing it as if they were never part of her world. In short, Kody and Robyn are living in a manufactured fantasy. They can claim victimhood, avoid responsibility, and pretend that monogamy was forced upon them, when every action in this episode reveals the truth. They chose this life. They chose Robyn. They chose detachment. They chose to leave heartbreak in their wake. And besties, we are only just scratching the surface. When we dive into the ways Kody manipulates, neglects, and distances himself from his children, it is going to get even uglier. This season is about to expose every lie, every betrayal, and every manipulation in shocking emotional detail. As the premiere of Sister Wives Season 20 unfolds, the layers of manipulation and emotional neglect surrounding Kody and Robyn become increasingly impossible to ignore. What is shocking isn't just their inability to take responsibility, It's the way they actively shape the narrative to make themselves appear as victims, all while the rest of the family is left to bear the consequences. Kody's children, who should be at the center of his attention, are pushed to the sidelines, their grief minimized, their needs ignored. Meanwhile, Janelle, Christine, and Mary are left to navigate the raw pain of abandonment and betrayal on their own, forced to confront the emotional fallout that Kody so conveniently evades. The episode makes it abundantly clear that Kody has deliberately compartmentalized his relationships, leaving his children in limbo, his ex-wives feeling unseen, and Robyn positioned as the sole beneficiary of his emotional absence. The most heart-wrenching moments come when the children's voices are finally allowed to be heard. Madison, Solomon, and the others are visibly broken by Kody's absence, struggling with feelings of rejection and confusion. They don't just want reconciliation, they need it. And yet, Kody continues to treat these gestures as superficial obligations. Brushing Solomon's hair, driving him to school, worrying about his phone, all of these moments are performative rather than meaningful. It's a hollow attempt to display care while avoiding the deeper responsibility that comes with genuine parental involvement. And Robyn, rather than challenging or questioning these actions, supports them quietly, reinforcing the illusion of a devoted family while the reality is far darker. Mary's confrontation with Robyn delivers some of the most shocking clarity in the episode. She doesn't hold back. She calls out the lie that Kody and Robyn keep telling themselves and the viewers, that they didn't choose monogamy. Mary's words are a piercing reminder of the truth. Kody abandoned his other relationships and Robyn benefited from that absence, all while pretending she had no say in the circumstances. Mary's blunt question, "Why would I stay in a marriage where I have no relationship with Kody, no relationship with Robyn, just so Robyn can claim she lives polygamy?" cuts straight to the heart of the deceit. It's a powerful indictment not just of Kody's choices, but of the entire narrative Robyn perpetuates to maintain her image. The emotional stakes continue to rise as the episode juxtaposes Kody and Robyn's detachment with the healing journeys of Janelle and Christine. Janelle is carving out a life in North Carolina, confronting grief head-on, and refusing to let the past define her. Christine is doing the same, holding space for the children and facing pain that Kody seems incapable of acknowledging. The contrast is staggering. While Kody performs gestures for appearances, Janelle and Christine engage in the messy, painful work of emotional reconciliation. Robyn's attempts to frame herself as a victim become increasingly hollow in this context, exposing the calculated nature of the narrative she and Kody have crafted together. By the midpoint of the episode, the cracks in Kody and Robyn's carefully constructed world are undeniable. Every excuse, every claim of struggle, every stage gesture is revealed as a strategy to protect their image while avoiding accountability. The children's heartbreak, the fractured relationships with the ex-wives, and the unresolved grief are the collateral damage of their decisions. The audience begins to see the full scope of the manipulation. Kody and Robyn are not struggling, they are orchestrating. They are controlling the narrative, avoiding responsibility, and maintaining an illusion of victimhood while leaving real people to suffer. And yet, even amidst the emotional devastation, there is a glimmer of truth that begins to emerge. Mary's confrontation, the children's visible pain, and the honesty of Janelle and Christine start to dismantle the facade. Robyn can no longer claim that Kody's detachment is heroic or necessary, and Kody can no longer hide behind excuses. The audience witnesses a pattern of manipulation and emotional negligence that has spanned years, now brought to the surface with painful clarity. Every staged gesture, every performative moment, every claim of victimhood is exposed as a calculated attempt to control perception while avoiding the messy work of reconciliation and accountability. By the end of Part 2, the tension has escalated to a breaking point. Kody and Robyn's bubble of control is fragile and the cracks are widening. The audience can see the truth. This is not a story of struggle forced upon them, but of choices made at the expense of everyone around them. The betrayal is raw, the heartbreak is real, and the consequences are only beginning to unfold. The emotional fallout for the children, for Mary, for Janelle and Christine, is staggering, and the full weight of Kody and Robyn's manipulation is finally impossible to ignore. By the time we reach the heart of this episode, the emotional tension between Kody, Robyn, and the rest of the family reaches a boiling point that is almost unbearable to watch. Robyn continues to present herself as a victim of circumstance, claiming that she never chose monogamy and that she's trapped in a marriage that wasn't of her making. But the truth is painfully obvious to anyone paying attention. She has benefited immensely from Kody's abandonment of the other wives and the children. Every excuse she makes, every tear she sheds feels performative, calculated to deflect blame and protect her image. What's even more shocking is how she distances herself from the women she once called her sisters, now referring to them as Kody's exes. That one choice of words reveals everything about her mindset. These women are no longer people to her, no longer family, just obstacles in her story of victimhood. The audacity of that narrative is staggering, because in reality, Robyn actively participates in this deception, helping Kody maintain control over the family dynamic while avoiding any genuine confrontation or accountability. Meanwhile, Kody's pattern of detachment continues to wreak havoc on the children. The episode lays bare the heartbreaking consequences of his absence. Madison, Solomon, and the other kids are forced to navigate feelings of rejection, abandonment, and confusion, all while their father performs gestures of care that barely scratch the surface of their emotional needs. Brushing hair, driving to school, carefully placing a hand on a shoulder. These acts are hollow, designed for appearances rather than authentic connection. The audience sees the stark contrast between Kody's performative parenting and the genuine care that Janelle and Christine provide, highlighting just how self-centered his approach truly is. Every staged moment becomes a reminder that Kody prioritizes image over substance, and that Robyn quietly condones it all, further deepening the betrayal. The confrontations between Robyn and Meri are some of the most shocking and emotionally charged moments of the episode. Meri doesn't hold back, calling out the lies that Kody and Robyn tell themselves and the audience, that monogamy was forced upon them, that they didn't choose this life. She exposes the cruel reality that Kody abandoned real relationships, prioritized Robyn above all else, and created a system where Robyn could claim a version of polygamy without ever having to confront the consequences of true partnership. Meri's words land like thunder. Staying in a marriage where meaningful connection doesn't exist is not compromise, it's survival. And in calling out Robyn's facade, she exposes the manipulation and selfishness that have defined the last decade of the family's life. Every viewer watching feels the tension, the heartbreak, and the raw injustice of this betrayal. As the episode continues, the audience witnesses the full scope of Kody and Robyn's calculated emotional neglect. They aren't struggling, they are orchestrating. They are controlling the narrative to make themselves appear powerless while the rest of the family suffers. The children's heartbreak, the fractured relationships, and the lingering grief are all collateral damage of their decisions. Yet even within this devastation there is a glimmer of clarity. The honesty and courage of Janelle, Christine, and Meri begin to dismantle the illusion. Every staged gesture, every performative moment, every claim of victimhood is now laid bare, revealing the pattern of manipulation and avoidance that Kody and Robyn have relied on for years. Perhaps the most shocking element is Robyn's attempt to distance herself emotionally while still enjoying the privileges of Kody's presence. She claims she struggles, that she feels left behind, that she never wanted monogamy, but the audience sees the truth. She benefits from Kody's selective absence, from the control he exerts over the family, and from the narrative that positions her as the wronged party. She's complicit, and the children, Meri, Janelle, and Christine, are living proof of the damage that complicity has caused. Each moment of confrontation, each tearful confession, and each pointed comment from the ex-wives dismantles her carefully constructed story. The episode crescendos with moments that are almost unbearable to watch. The children's pain is visible, raw, and heart-wrenching. Madison breaks down, Solomon struggles to express the depth of his feelings, and the audience is forced to confront the consequences of Kody and Robyn's decades-long patterns of avoidance and manipulation. Meanwhile, Kody's attempts to appear involved are shallow at best, highlighting the contrast between image and reality. Every interaction is a reminder that these gestures are carefully curated, not authentic. The tension is heightened by Robyn's continued insistence that she is a victim, creating a narrative that is emotionally manipulative and morally disorienting. By the end of this section of the episode, it's clear that the facade is crumbling. The audience sees through the lies, the manipulation, and the carefully staged performances. Kody and Robyn's control over the family dynamic is tenuous, and the cracks are beginning to show. The confrontation with Meri, the children's visible heartbreak, and the raw honesty of Janelle and Christine are dismantling the illusion of victimhood that Kody and Robyn have built. The emotional fallout is staggering, and for the first time, it seems possible that the truth will finally prevail. The betrayal is undeniable, the heartbreak is real, and the consequences of neglect, manipulation, and selfishness are laid bare for everyone to see. Even as Kody and Robyn continue to insist that they are struggling, the audience can sense the stark difference between performance and reality. Their gestures, their claims, their victim narrative, all of it is artificial, constructed to deflect scrutiny and avoid accountability. Meanwhile, the children and the ex-wives live with the very real consequences of their choices. The tension, the heartbreak, and the emotional devastation are palpable, creating one of the most shocking, raw, and emotionally intense episodes in the show's history. For viewers, it is impossible to ignore the damage that has been done, and impossible not to anticipate the further revelations that will come as this season unfolds. The emotional stakes have reached an almost unbearable level. The facade that Kody and Robyn have meticulously constructed over the years is not just cracked. It is shattering, and every carefully staged moment they try to present on camera begins to crumble under the weight of truth. The children, who have been sidelined, ignored, and used as pawns in the performance of parental devotion, are finally allowed to express the depth of their pain. Madison's tears, Solomon's quiet frustration, and the restrained anger of the older kids all converge to create a heartbreak so raw it cuts through the pretense of the show. Kody continues to perform gestures that are meant to signify care. Brushing hair, driving to school, checking his phone obsessively, but the audience sees the hollow core behind these actions. These aren't acts of love. They are acts of preservation, designed to maintain the illusion that he is present, that he is a good father, while the emotional wounds of his children fester unchecked. Robyn's role in this ongoing drama becomes increasingly clear and unsettling. She positions herself as the wounded party, claiming that she never chose monogamy and that she is struggling to cope with circumstances thrust upon her. But the camera exposes the subtle ways she exerts influence, controls narratives, and manipulates perception. She benefits from Kody's absence of accountability, from his selective engagement, and from the emotional vacuum he creates for his ex-wives and children alike. Her repeated distancing from Mary and the other women, referring to them as Kody's exes, rather than acknowledging them as sister wives or family, is more than semantics. It's an emotional erasure, a deliberate attempt to rewrite history and place herself in the center of a story that she helped shape. Her victim narrative is just that, a carefully crafted story designed to preserve her image while she quietly profits from Kody's control and the fractures in the family dynamic. The confrontations that unfold are emotionally explosive. Mary, Janelle, and Christine refuse to let Kody and Robyn's performance stand unchallenged. Mary's pointed critiques of Robyn's fake polygamy, Christine's calls for accountability, and Janelle's demonstration of strength and independence all serve as seismic shifts in the family's emotional landscape. Robyn is forced to respond, and her reactions reveal a mix of defensiveness, denial, and a faint acknowledgement that the truth cannot be completely hidden. The audience sees a woman who is both complicit and conflicted, benefiting from the chaos yet unable to fully admit her role in it. Kody, on the other hand, continues to vacillate between performative care and emotional detachment. He fears confrontation, resents accountability, and yet cannot entirely avoid the cracks forming around him. Every interaction is loaded with tension, exposing not just the dysfunction of their marriage but the systemic failure in his approach to parenting, partnership, and familial responsibility. The children's experiences are central to this emotional reckoning. We witness the long-term effects of neglect, the erosion of trust, and the quiet anger that festers when love is conditional, inconsistent, or performative. Solomon, Madison, and the older kids are living embodiments of the consequences of Kody's choices. They crave connection, yet the gestures offered are too little, too late. They are forced to navigate grief without guidance, reconciliation without sincerity, and understanding without support. And the audience, watching these moments unfold, cannot help but feel the raw injustice of it all. Kody's selective involvement, Robyn's complicit manipulation, and the absence of authentic accountability create a deeply unsettling portrait of family life, one where appearance matters more than love and performance matters more than presence. Robyn's narrative continues to unravel in this part of the episode. Her claims of struggle, of being left behind, and of never choosing monogamy are increasingly contradicted by her actions. The subtle ways she maintains influence over Kody, controls public perception, and distances herself from Meri, Janelle, and Christine all reveal that she is far from powerless. She thrives within the structures Kody has abandoned, and the facade of victimhood becomes harder to sustain with each confrontation. The audience begins to see her true position. She is not a casualty of circumstance. She is a participant in a carefully orchestrated system of emotional control. The climax of this part of the episode is almost unbearable in its intensity. The raw emotions of the children, the ex-wife's unflinching honesty, and the unraveling narratives of Kody and Robyn collide in ways that are both shocking and heartbreaking. Madison's tears become a mirror for the family's long-neglected grief. Solomon's frustration echoes years of unacknowledged pain. Mary's piercing critiques shatter the illusion of Robyn's innocence. Janelle and Christine's unwavering strength contrasts starkly with the hollow performances of Kody and Robyn. And the audience, watching it all unfold, is left with an unshakable sense of the consequences of neglect, manipulation, and emotional abandonment. By the end of this segment, it is clear that the facade is completely fractured. Kody and Robyn's world, carefully constructed over years of control and avoidance, is teetering on the edge of collapse. The cracks are widening, the illusions are falling apart, and the emotional fallout is undeniable. The audience witnesses a family pushed to its breaking point, forced to confront truths that have been buried for far too long. Kody and Robyn's manipulations, the children's pain, and the ex-wife's courage in demanding accountability all converge to create a narrative that is shocking, raw, and emotionally devastating. Every viewer is left reeling from the betrayal, heartbreak, and manipulation laid bare in this episode. And yet, amidst all the devastation, there is a glimmer of hope. The courage of Meri, Janelle, and Christine, the raw honesty of the children, and the unraveling of Kody and Robyn's performative narratives signal a possible turning point. The audience can finally see the truth behind the facades, the manipulation behind the gestures, and the emotional toll of years of avoidance. What emerges is not just a story of betrayal and heartbreak, but also a story of resilience, courage, and the possibility of reckoning. The season promises further revelations, deeper confrontations, and the emotional unraveling of a family that has been kept in shadows for far too long. By the end of Part 4, viewers are left with a shocking, heart-wrenching, and emotionally charged portrait of a family at war with itself, with the consequences of selfishness and neglect laid bare for everyone to witness. The ultimate unraveling of Kody and Robyn's carefully constructed world, and the emotional intensity reaches a level that is almost impossible to watch. The facade they have maintained for years, of a spiritual, misunderstood polygamous union, is fully exposed as a hollow performance, a cover for selfishness and emotional neglect. The children who have been forced to endure neglect, performative affection, and abandonment, now speak openly about their pain, their voices raw with years of frustration, heartbreak, and longing for parental connection. Madison's trembling words, Solomon's quiet but searing disappointment, and the older children's restrained anger paint a devastating portrait of the long-term impact of Kody's emotional absence. Every audience member watching can feel the sting of betrayal. They are witnessing what years of neglect, manipulation, and avoidance have done to a family once presented as unified. Robyn's role in this unfolding tragedy becomes increasingly undeniable. She continues to insist she never chose monogamy, that she is struggling with circumstances beyond her control, yet her actions betray a very different reality. She benefits from Kody's emotional absence, enjoys the privileges of his selective attention, and maintains influence over him and the family while presenting herself as helpless. Her repeated dismissal of Meri, Janelle, and Christine as Kody's exes, rather than acknowledging them as family or sister wives, is more than semantics. It's a deliberate erasure of the women who once played significant roles in her life. The audience sees through the facade. Robyn is complicit in the neglect and manipulation that has defined the last decade of this family's existence. Her victim narrative is no longer convincing. It is exposed as a calculated strategy to protect her image while enjoying the consequences of Kody's choices. The confrontations between Robyn and Meri reach a level of emotional intensity that is almost unbearable. Meri does not hold back, naming the manipulation, the abandonment, and the cruelty that has been masked for years. She calls out Robyn's false version of polygamy, challenging her to acknowledge the reality of Kody's prioritization of her over the other wives and children. Mary's piercing critique exposes the truth that has long been hidden behind tears, excuses, and staged gestures. Kody abandoned meaningful relationships. Robyn thrived within that abandonment, and the narrative of victimhood they both claim is entirely fabricated. Each word from Mary lands like a blow, dismantling Robyn's carefully constructed story while revealing the emotional cost paid by everyone else. Meanwhile, Kody's attempts at performative care are increasingly exposed as hollow. Driving children to school, brushing hair, or giving a brief display of affection. These gestures are no longer enough to hide the emotional void left in his wake. The audience sees the stark contrast between the authenticity of Janelle and Christine's care and Kody's calculated appearances. Every staged moment becomes a reminder of his detachment, his avoidance of responsibility, and the long-term consequences of emotional neglect. The children's pain is tangible, their heartbreak undeniable, and every forced gesture from Kody only highlights the emotional chasm that separates him from his family. Robyn's continued insistence that she is struggling and left behind becomes increasingly hollow as the episode progresses. She attempts to position herself as a victim of circumstance, but the audience witnesses her subtle exertion of control, her ability to manipulate narratives, and her benefit from Kody's detachment. Every claim of helplessness is contradicted by her actions, revealing the depth of her complicity in this web of emotional manipulation. She is no longer simply a passive participant. She is an architect of the dysfunction, fully benefiting from the suffering of others while maintaining the pretense of struggle. The emotional climax of Part 5 is devastating. The children's pain, the ex-wife's courage, and the unraveling performances of Kody and Robyn collide to create moments of heartbreak, shock, and raw intensity. Madison's tears, Solomon's frustration, and the older children's anger all converge, laying bare the consequences of years of avoidance, neglect, and performative gestures. Janelle, Christine, and Mary stand firm, refusing to let excuses or victim narratives hide the truth. Kody and Robyn's carefully constructed facade collapses under the weight of truth, leaving a family exposed, fractured, and forced to confront the long-term damage of manipulation and selfishness. By the end of this part, it becomes painfully clear that the emotional fallout will extend far beyond what we have already witnessed. Kody and Robyn's world is unraveling, their manipulations exposed, and the cost of their choices is laid bare for all to see. The children's pain, the ex-wife's heartbreak, and the shattered illusions of family unity all serve as a reminder of the consequences of emotional neglect and selfishness. The audience is left shocked, enraged, and emotionally drained, witnessing the devastating reality of a family torn apart by deception, performance, and abandonment. Even in this chaos, however, there is a glimmer of hope. The courage of Mary, Janelle, and Christine, the children's voices demanding recognition and care, and the unraveling of Kody and Robyn's false narratives all hint at the possibility of accountability and healing. The season promises to continue exposing lies, manipulation, and emotional neglect, providing viewers with a shocking, heart-wrenching, and emotionally raw look into the consequences of choices made without regard for love, connection, or responsibility. By the conclusion of Part 5, it is undeniable. This is no longer just reality TV drama. This is a study in heartbreak, betrayal, and the human cost of selfishness and avoidance, leaving viewers riveted and emotionally invested in the fallout that is still to come.